Hi there, welcome to the Raising Cinephiles podcast, a show about passing on your love of cinema to the next generation. I'm your host, Jessica Kantor, and I have worked in all facets of the entertainment industry for the last 20 years, and recently became a mom. Always remember that myself and guests are speaking from personal experience and not giving parenting advice. Let's go ahead and dive into the episode. I'm so excited to be joined today by the incomparable Lucy Lawless. We have so much to discuss. First is the returning third season of My Life is Murder, in which she stars, coming to Acorn TV, premiering with 2 episodes on June 17th. And I'm also very, very, very excited to discuss her directorial debut, Never Look Away, which premiered at Sundance and is coming to theaters, which is super exciting. So thank you for joining me, Lucy.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
We're going to start actually with my first question that I ask every guest. What is your first movie memory?
My friend Michelle and I, we were new friends, so we must have been only about 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother took us to see a movie called High Lily, High Lily, High Low. And I think it was starring Leslie Caron or something. This is back in the 70s. And we didn't want to go, but it was so charming. So that became we were hooked. She and I became movie buddies. And we would wag school, which means cutting school. We'd wag school to go and see all kinds of things, like especially when we were younger than 13 and we were aching to get into Psycho and not Psycho, sorry, the one where he jumps out of the lake, the other terrifying, it might have been Psycho.
Psycho's the shower.
Yeah, no. I watched that the other day. What's that? A very famous one. Anyway, we'd go and see horror movies, and
yes.
that was our jam. Scanners. So we saw them underage in what must have been 1980.
All right.
Yeah.
And so she was your movie buddy.
Yeah.
I like to ask, like, what was the movie going like for your family makeup? Like, did your parents take you to movies and introduce you to cinema, or was it really through your friends and just self-discovery?
My mother forced us to go, and the school forced us to go to a couple of movies. One was Tanpopo, which was a I can't even remember which Asian language it was, but I thought it was Japanese, but now I think about it, it could have been, anything else, Taiwanese, I don't know. But, and that was just hilarious. And another French one, the Pink Panther movies. My father would take us to the Pink Panther movies, but my mother would force us to go to New Zealand cinema, so local cinema. And that was always surprisingly gratifying because New Zealanders are often like, oh, I don't think our stuff will be as good. And it is as good. So that's how my mother affected things. And we grew up watching, my father really was a leader in vampire movies because, we grew up Catholic. So we're like, oh, we've got everything here we need just in case one visits, I'm sure we could rustle up a steak from somewhere. There's a chair leg. Don't have a silver bullet, but that tends to be for werewolves more. But, crucifixes, garlic, check. Mirrors, check.
Yeah. Like, circle the bed in salt, just in case,
I remember staying up late to watch, what was the lesbian vampires? I can't remember, but there was always somebody called Camilla and always somebody called Lucy in all these hot movies. So I was always like extra petrified.
You're like, is that a tree outside or a vampire?
Yeah. I used to have to remind myself that there were people standing around this set. I used to have to imagine when I got too scared, I tried to picture all the sound guy and the makeup lady and the director and all those crew around the scary scene to take the edge off it. Yeah.
Wait, so how did you learn that movies were movies and not entertainment?
Oh, look, now you're reminding me now. The first movie I saw was Bambi.
Okay.
And I learned that a movie was movie and not entertainment because the mother died in the first 5 minutes and I was at a very tender age scandalized. How could you kill his mother? So that was very formative. That cinema was a somatic experience, an emotional
Yeah.
experience. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
and in my opinion, every frame needs to be designed with the audience's experience in mind.
Yeah. My son watches Finding Nemo, and he still doesn't quite. I mean, he's 2, so he doesn't put together death yet, and I just kind of let him not understand that yet. And the Marlin's looking for the wife Coral, and he's like, Coral, he wants Coral back, but he's in the other shark's tummy. I'm like, yeah, he is, and the whale's gonna spit him back out. Like later in the movie, he like doesn't quite. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it makes sense
Pinocchio.
to you. Yeah.
Pinocchio was really scary. I think I saw that in the cinema, and even though it was already old, but that he does get spat out in that,
Yeah.
so it's a little bit biblical. But that could be the antidote to the realization that never coming back.
Yeah, they're not coming back. But yeah, or when something's like they get like separated from the parent, or the parent dies, but he thinks they're getting
Oh my God, I
separated.
hate that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always like, he needs his mama. Yeah,
Yes, he does.
yeah, he does, sweetheart. He does need his mama. I don't. It's interesting. I had someone on the podcast who is in media studies, Yalda Uls at UCLA, a doctorate in that, used to be a producer. And I was asking what media I should show my son, so he's well developed. And he was like, Mr. Rogers is the best thing to show him. So I put it on. And the first episode of Mr. Rogers is about his dog dying. And I was like, really?
You've got to ease into it. You've got to start with the very first episode, 1956, and by that time your baby will be old enough to comprehend, to cope.
That was literally the first episode, though, ever.
Wow. Did he see it, or were you screening it?
I put it on for him, and I was like, you know what? Let's watch something else. I don't think we're ready for this.
Kids are very sanguine about death, though. They don't, it's our attitude that colors it for them, and makes it taboo. So, I don't know. My kids were always like, uh-oh, he's dead.
Yeah, though because, he's at that age right now where I drop him at preschool, and he's like, Mommy always comes back, right? Because I pick him up. And so if he has to say, like, wait, but you might not come back, I don't want it. Like, we're in a good place right now.
Yeah. You know what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay, so you understood movies had craft and it helped you deal with fear. Is there a movie or an experience that made you know you wanted to be a part of the experience?
Yes, but it was watching an ad, and I remember my brothers, who were sort of pretty uncouth bunch in those days, 1970s, and they were judging the way some girl looked, and then they said, they get paid heaps of money to do that. And I was like, what? That's a job? You're kidding me. I could do that. Any fool could do that. And that's when I realized it was a gig, and that I just knew that I'd be a good fit for that world.
Yeah. And now you're directing. So I'm just curious, where in your journey of understanding cinema did you get that desire? Because I know the desire and the actualization can be very long distances in a marathon of this world of entertainment.
I had no intention of directing. I always thought it was really a chump's job. That you're, especially in television, you're clock watching and compromised at every turn. And I just thought, who would want it? At least as an actor, I'm at the very end of the chain of information. And once the camera's rolling, no one can touch me. It's all, I can do whatever I like. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this idea came to me in the form of an email from Margaret Moth's best friend saying, would you like to make a film about my friend Margaret Moth? And I remembered this hubbub on CNN in 1992 when a New Zealand camerawoman got shot in the face by a sniper during the Battle of the Siege of Sarajevo. And I immediately jumped on it and made all these rash promises that I would find the money and I would find the producers, and I had no idea still of directing it until 2 weeks later when somebody else suggested I direct it, and I said, no, 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 And then I thought, of course I should. There's nobody else who cares in the way that I care. And I know now that when I get that feeling in my tummy about an idea or a talent or, somebody, that I have got the staying power to obsess on this 24/7 for years. And now I know that feeling because it gives me this scratchy feeling like a little dirt sparrow. I want to get down in the dust with it and just wrestle this idea until it is, to bring it to completion, to fulfill the promise of the idea. So I didn't know that about myself. And I had no idea I would ever direct. And now my life has taken this sharp left turn, and I'm so thrilled. And now when I read a script, it's a very different experience, because as an actor, you're reading a script through quite a narrow window of skills.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you read it as a director, you're thinking about the light and effects, and how do I create an image for this that takes an audience somewhere without me having to say a word. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking about sound design. I'm thinking about how to convey all the kind of information that's kind of the autonomic nervous system to their nervous systems that will keep them leaning in and take them on the somatic experience, on a roller coaster ride. I have no interest in educating people. I want to illuminate the human condition by making it fun and pleasurable for you to get on that ride. So I want to entertain you.
Yeah. Yeah. I took this labs with a really interesting woman here in Los Angeles named Joan Shekel. For a second, I thought the name would just pop out of my head, but it was there. I'm so happy. And she talks a lot about like feeling and how that colors, the work. And there was a whole lab around Wizard of Oz and how that whole movie is a feeling. The theme of the movie is stated so beautifully.
Yes.
Home sweet home. It's just
and desire for home. Longing for a sense of belonging and love,
and then how to like put that in your work from every aspect of it. And it's so interesting doing her labs. You have actors, writers, directors, and camera people, and have that aliveness. And so it's so interesting hearing you say that after doing a documentary from such an alive camera person, where she was really, could you imagine if Margaret Moth was your camera person on a scripted show? What you would get?
Yeah.
That would be insane.
You would get what she wanted you to get. She would, in full command of the camera department. I'm not sure I'd like that, to be honest with you.
She would find the most alive moment in the scene, though, right?
Yeah, magnetized towards that. That's right.
I don't think I would want her to be the only camera person on set, but she would be a really interesting one.
Yeah, she was a fascinating woman, that's for sure.
You seem like you caught the bug. Are you starting to look for another project? Yes,
I've got 2 scripted things that I'm interested in and 1 doc, but it takes a lot to get them into shape and then to start hustling them and making them as appealing as possible to the let's call them moneylenders, to the
are you doing
counters.
Indie? Are you doing indie or going more commercial?
It probably is more art house.
So when you learned you wanted to become an actress from an ad, from advertising, what was the next step to go from? from
I
that
did
to?
acting at school. So every kind of play in English or whatever, I was fully into the performances and all through high school. And I always got a no first time from the big acting teachers when I said, I want to be in your class. And they'd always say no. And then I wouldn't take that for an answer. I would kind of argue back why they should take me. And then they did. Same with my agent of 20, 30 years. Said no at first. And I was like, well, I think you really should. And I was probably his biggest money earner, in all that time. And so, yeah, I would say to young actors, if you believe in yourself, you better believe in yourself, because you're going to hear people say no. And the thing to do is very politely insist that they think again. I've never done that with producers, though, I will tell you. I've never had that kind of chutzpah since, I think, but maybe I should have. I don't know. I've been a bit of a floater in my life. I've just floated from one thing to another.
I usually, when I get no's, I make friends. I'm like, I respect that opinion, but what else are you doing? Let's be friends.
Oh,
and then I find
good.
the yes down the line,
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. It's important to understand where people are coming from and go, what do you need? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
What's your job?
It's like, I might have a friend that's right for you,
Yeah.
It's like dating.
Their friend will be named Lucy Lawless and Jessica Kantor, but they're perfect for you.
I was like, you don't want this script? I know like 6 great films,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a writer, right? So I'm always pitching. And they're like, that's not really my speed. I'm like, well, I have 3 other things I'm working on. So let me share them with you.
Yeah, you got to be hustling several projects at once. You never
Always.
know what's going to catch fire. So
yeah. And just like, oh yeah, that's not for everyone. I have another weird one. You want to hear it through your journey, and I want to like keep it to cinema and keep relating us back to cinema. Were there films that inspired you as you were creating different characters you were bringing to life? I mean, I know you have the character Xena Warrior Princess, and you're keeping it alive after lots of seasons. And I'm just curious if you found, as that character grew and changed, and were you finding inspiration for her?
No, I don't really know how to answer that. Just every word you just said seems inappropriate to that experience. So in that, it moved so faster than me. It moved faster than me, so all I could do was swim to keep up. So I wasn't finding inspiration. It was just demanding of me every day, and I just kept serving it, lobbing it back.
Okay, let me ask the question in another way.
Okay.
When you were on hiatus from that experience, what kind of cinema did you watch to relieve yourself from it?
This is something that I never expect I'm going to like, but always do, and that is action movies. I'm really quite an art, I'm an art owl sort of, or watch old English actresses doing anything. Right, Redgrave or, any of them. I watch older actresses generally. So it was things like Frances with Jessica Lange, Susan Sarandon, all those incredible women who are doing character, lead female roles. They were very inspiring. And really, my character and the thing I became known for, Xena, was very much enabled, and I was inspired by Sigourney Weaver in Aliens, which was one of my children's top childhood movies. Believe it or not, my children were watching Alien, The Abyss, like scary movies are in our blood.
Wait, we're I'm gonna transition us to kids really soon, and okay. I have a lot of questions about horror films to introducing them to kids. It's a big theme for me, so we're gonna get there in a second. I love that. Sigourney Weaver has been a big through line for me from Gorillas in the Mist, which was to me one of the most terrifying and heartbreaking movies I ever saw. And I must have been 8 or 9 when I saw that. And I just remember bawling.
Mhm.
I'm going to show my son that one day because he has a thing for gorillas. They terrify him. And I think he'll really...
Why? Hang on. You won't let him see the fish die on bloody Nemo.
Oh, no, he watches the fish die. I just let him interpret it however his brain interpreted it.
But the other one that you said you weren't going to let him watch. And yet you're looking, I don't know, the one where the...
well, first of all, I let him watch it all. I just don't let him like process it. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm going to let him watch it when he's 8 or 9 or 10 and he's emotionally ready for it.
That sounds so horrifying. I think that's so much worse than vampires or, I mean, Gorillas in the Mist is one of the great ecocides. Do you know what I mean? Like it's emblematic of everything that's wrong with humans. And I don't know. I just, wow.
I think I saw Ghostbusters and was like, I really like Sigourney Weaver. And then I went and watched...
a cool chick.
And then I watched Gorillas in the Mist because I was like, I like this actress. And I was like...
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Totally messed me up.
I loved her in The Ice Storm. I mean, what a woman.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome.
What a phenomenal woman. Anyway.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I see that connection of the inspiration to your character.
Yeah. She made it possible, in my opinion. She was my model for it.
Yeah. How many times did you watch Alien?
I don't know, 10, I suppose. Alien 10. And then Aliens, yeah. And
wait, how old are your kids now?
My daughter is 35. And my boys are 24 and 21, and Tremors, and they would watch Tremors on high rotation.
Okay.
And also Aliens. One of the films that really had a huge impact on me was Grease. Grease was just a mega sensation in a different way to Star Wars. Those were just the two hugest things of my lifetime. Was those two movies. And then
tell me more about Grease. I wanna hear this. This has come up a little bit
because I was young and it was introducing me in a very accessible way to the world of teenagers and sex and smoking and stuff, you know. And so I felt like I was getting this look in a very lolly-colored, world, all that insane color and that retro filter that was on it. It was all so damn beautiful, and it felt like you were going to prom.
Yeah. So I loved Grease. When I was in grade school, I grew up in a small town in Florida, like in Southwest Florida. So it was like not the most progressive. And they had a sock hop. Do you know what a sock hop is?
From the movies.
Yeah. So all the girls wore poodle skirts and the boys were in these suits. And I wore a black spandex jumpsuit and heels and wore my hair curly. And I did and a leather jacket, and my mom's leather jacket. And I did Sandy at the end of Grease.
You were the slut. You were slut Sandy.
Yeah, I was slut Sandy. And I thought I walk in all cool, trying to thinking everyone's going to get my reference. And nobody did but a few parents. And it scarred me. I was the weird kid.
It's good to be the weird kid sometimes.
I know, but not there.
Not there. Oh, well, I think you were amazing.
Thank you.
To do that. Except it is a weird thing, isn't it? That movie, if you look back with the benefit of hindsight, it's good girl turns slut due to peer pressure. And we're all cheering her on at the end.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
So it's funny you say that because I had Annie Weissman on the podcast. She created Physical for Apple TV. Uh-huh. And she said she loved Grease also. We were talking about it and she showed it to her kids. And her daughter hated it.
Really?
And said, how could a girl change herself for a boy?
Well, we've come a long way, baby.
right? I was like, oh, you must be so freaking proud. What a good mom moment.
As the old cigarette ad used to say, you've come a long way, baby. That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
The precursor to Grease was Saturday Night Fever, and I was only 9 or 10 when that came out, but I had older brothers, and they were all about it. We were all learning the Brooklyn Hustle, even down in New Zealand. That was a mega world changing cinematic experience as well. And I went back and watched it when I was in my, say, 30s, and I was blown away how well it holds up and how gritty it is. Like it's worth seeing because it's making some comments on friendship and rape and cover up, and it's very, very, it's powerful cinema actually, and also the music changed the world.
yeah. Yeah, I watched that one not too long ago. I mean, gosh, I
Oh, it's
feel
about
like,
suicide too, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. It's very, I mean, I really liked it. Did you feel it held up?
Yeah, I mean, I will say not too long ago, but when I think about it, I'm like, oh, it was pre-baby, it was pre-COVID. So God, that was 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not so recent now. But yeah, it did hold up for me. Saturday Night Fever 2 did not.
No.
So
There's
that one did
difficulties.
not for me.
Sequels are tough.
Sequels are tough. But yeah, the first one really, really, really did for me. So where were you in your career when you had your kiddos?
My daughter was already born. She was 5 when I started playing Xena. I'd already been working in New Zealand television and film. And my second child was born towards the end of Xena while I was still working, and the other one was born right after.
So I ask this a lot of working moms, especially of moms who are on set because of the grueling hours that our industry asks of us. I was very close to getting my first feature off the ground right before COVID, and then it fell apart. And then I decided, as a director, and I decided to focus on writing after my kid was born because I was like, I'm a single mom by choice, and I don't have a second partner to be with my kid. And I was like, how could I direct if I don't have childcare support? And, I was just like, it's impossible. So I've been talking to other parents, and they're like, if it's an indie film, you can kind of make your own hours, and you can, bring them to set, especially when they're younger, and get childcare on set. And so I'm like trying to wrap my head around it. So I just keep asking women how they did it. So how did you do it?
Yes, well, with my daughter, her father, even though we weren't together anymore, was on the scene. He was in the same town, and he was very good through that. He was the major caregiver. Daisy would be with me in the weekends, which was also quite exhausting. But
so you're like, my day's off and my day's on.
Yeah. But
I feel like when you became a parent, Sunday crazies, you're like, no, I'm ready for work. I'm ready for work again.
But with my boy on the set of Xena, we had a truck, and I was still nursing and all that. So we had a truck and a nanny, and he would go home at 4 p.m. every day, and she would feed him, and I would, dinner, and then, and he would scream all the way home from the car. He would always hate leaving mummy, but we had a wonderful nanny. And that's just how life was for about 18 months before the end of the show. How would I do it now? During My Life as Murder, we took a baby. Our producer and his wife and their baby came to Texas and Atlanta with us interviewing, and it was wonderful to have a set baby. Mm-hmm. It's like you can have what in New Zealand we call whānau. You can make it's a wider concept of family. Mm-hmm. You can do that. All this, you can't have children in your life is not true. I mean, Jacinda Ardern was breastfeeding while being Prime Minister of our country. Like, it's possible. It's You do, however, need practical support
Yeah.
and moral support, and everybody just, yeah, you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
Make your own rules, and yeah, you got to believe.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll never happen,
I
right?
know. Well, I just got an au pair. So I'll have another set of hands now in my home. And so I'm working my way there, but back.
Yeah,
And
that's right. There's
more
time.
I
There's time. Hmm.
and the more questions I ask, this question, the more courage I get to start thinking it's possible.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but yeah,
very humanizing to have a baby on set. I mean, obviously, when they're crying or whatever, you got to have somebody who can take them out and give them what they need. A bit of stability, a quiet place, a fun place, some friends to play with. But so sound is always a consideration. But generally speaking, babies don't ruin
yeah.
business.
Well, my kid is now 2.5, and he's a talker. Like he's a talker and a repeater. So if I have him on set, I gotta make sure like he the language is kind of clean, or
Yeah,
we're gonna have a kid who's gonna say some
they do
words.
anyway. They do use words anyway. Like they'll hear it somewhere and then they'll test it on you. And if they get a good reaction from the parents, if they're shocked or something, they're going to use it. They discover the power of words. And also it's when they're individuating, right? So
Yeah.
somewhere between 4 and 6, they're going to try out some really gnarly words on you.
Uh-huh.
We
Totally
had that
have to.
happen at Nobu in Malibu, where my son stood on a chair and said two of the vilest words you can possibly imagine that my daughter's friend had taught him the day before in New Zealand. We flew to Malibu. He stood up on a chair and silenced the whole restaurant. And he was your kid's age. He was 18 months. What he said was so shocking. And I was like, oh, the whole audience, And then he said it again. He said one word and then the other, because he was like, which of these words had that magical power on all those people? I can control them. It was astonishing. Oh, I was
Um,
so mad.
yeah. And especially since people can recognize you, it probably makes you cringe even more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, being a
Uh,
magazine. Like I'm blushing
yeah.
now. Can you see how red my cheeks have gotten?
Yeah.
I'm so
Just
embarrassed by
remembering the moment.
that memory. Oh,
Yeah. Um, yeah, he is so articulate in sentences, and we potty trained this weekend, which he did beautifully, and I like wanted to cry the whole time because I'm like, oh my god, he's a big boy. I can't believe it. He doesn't even need my help. um, and like but he then like I felt like the next day he was like talking in full sentences and like clearer than ever, and I was like, he just became big all of a sudden.
well, it's so great that you're noticing this stuff because a lot of women are so busy or, we just miss those moments. So it sounds like you're loving and paying attention to every moment. So that's as good as it gets. It's bittersweet, but
I know.
this is
It's so
the best
special.
of it. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, so tell me about your kids' taste in movies. Do they all like the same kind of thing, or did you discover different stuff that they liked different things?
Well, one boy was really into trucks and truck movies. Francisco drives the something loader, and he has become interested not at all in such things. So whatever I thought that was precursor to, I was wrong. But the other boy was interested in plants. They were interested in plants and animals from the beginning. But they wrote to me, especially bugs. So I guess that's why Tremors became so important to them. Massive alien earthworms under the sand.
Uh-huh.
And Kevin Bacon's in it. Is it Kevin Bacon? Patrick Swayze? Kevin Bacon, I think. Let me just see what my boy wrote. I was trying to ask my girl too. She's a big cinephile. My kids are all major film fans.
Oh,
And none of them are in the
amazing.
business. But
It doesn't matter.
my son said the SpongeBob movie, maybe the first movie to make me cry. That's the plant lover, the plant lover. We had a DVD set called Blue Realm, docos about the ocean, deep sea and cephalopod series, Aliens and Tremors. So, and my other boy also said Alien and Tremors.
Do you remember how old you introduced them to Alien and Tremors?
Look, my son was watching um, The Abyss at like 4 or 5 years old. He was already operating the thing. He loved that stuff, and I wouldn't even have noticed, except that my friend was shocked that I let him watch Alien. I mean, The Abyss, and we didn't think it was that scary, but yeah, my kids watched quote unquote inappropriate things. It hasn't hurt them a bit.
My son, I mean, gosh, he's 2.5. He loves being scared. Loves it. Like, I put on Monsters Inc. and the beginning is a little scary. I mean, it's just funny, right? It's like gentle. And he like runs in my lap and then like looks over. I'm like, is it too scary? He goes, no.
That's good, because when there's no real danger, being scared is fun.
Yeah,
He knows
he knows
that.
that. Like
Yeah,
he
he's
knows
safe
that.
with
And
you. Yeah.
I love scary movies, so I'm like excited for this adventure. I'm like kind of
Let's
very
go.
gently. I'm like
Yeah,
gently.
next Gorillas in the Mist.
Yeah. I'm like I have a list. I mean, so for I did a movie for his second birthday in a theater. I rented a theater and I got a print of the red balloon and
Oh, wow. I saw that when I was a kid. Wow.
and invited his preschool friends, and it was like beautiful. And so I think I'm going to do something like that and introduce movies to his friends that way. That
Was it
they would,
translated into English?
no, but it didn't matter because there wasn't much
Beautiful.
talking, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right.
And so I'm trying to figure out what would be appropriate, something fun and interesting from the past, maybe like some Laurel and Hardy shorts or something fun like that for next year. But I want to do E.T. in the theater for them. Like
That's such a great idea.
But I think I need it to be 4 because I don't think all the kids will be ready for it. Like my son will be ready for it, but earlier I think. But I want to wait for the movie theater.
Right.
And I heard the Beverly Center does it with the original trailers.
Oh,
and
that is so cool. Really. I'd love to see Star Wars again. You know, we'd never seen anything like that. Even when the words are scrolling over you, we'd never seen anything like that. Like they changed the pitch and the yaw of the font, right? So it was moving up over your head or away. I can't remember, but we had never seen that before.
Yeah.
This is what's happened in my lifetime. When I was a kid, fluorescent colors did not exist. They came in. First of all, it was purely like road cone type stuff, and then clothing in the 80s exploded as cosmic, this, that, and the other thing. But fluorescent colors didn't exist. So I don't know why I felt the need to tell you that, but
well,
how far we've come. We'd never seen these things is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm a generation that went from like to cell phones were introduced in my generation, the iPhone, the smartphone, personal computers. You know, my son, I have a feeling, might not even have a desktop computer. I think that's going to be considered like a rotary phone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
By the time he's a teenager.
Yeah, the Vision Pro will become
it's going to be the desktop.
Light little.
Yeah.
That's or something that's beamed by Bluetooth onto your regular glasses or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just hanging in the air. Why not?
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be like a backlash. We're going to just go Luddite.
Well, that wouldn't be so bad, would it? We should have, there should be weeks where you just go on a diet from the whole thing and see how you cope. Old school.
I mean, I'm not really a religious Jew, but the idea of Shabbat
Shabbat, yeah.
and like Friday night to Saturday night, turning
Yeah.
off technology.
Yeah. And that whole thing with the eclipse. Now, I was
Yeah.
flying, I was in the air coming to America, but so I missed the whole darn thing. But the fact that all these people in the whole city are standing there waiting on nature is so beautiful and
I know.
so unusual. It's this blessed event. So I think, yeah, we need to wait on nature a little bit to get back to our best, most grounded selves. Anywho, we're off the topic, aren't we?
I know. Movies inspire us, right? To lots of topics. And I think that's the beautiful part of cinema. Well, I'm going to ask you my final question, which I ask every guest, which is what film should I show my son? And this could be at any age in his life so that he falls in love with cinema.
He's going to have to wait a little time after Gorillas in the Mist, or before, actually, The Godfather and Godfather 2, because they're so masterful. It's Francis Ford Coppola who has both the female and the male gaze going on. So it's not just what the gangsters are doing to one another, but what motivates them. It's about love. It's about family. It's about betrayal. And you have to be interested in the subterranean and the implicit, not just the physical actions of. It's not like an old-time mafia shoot 'em up, accounting. That's kind of like journalism, but. Coppola definitely has the female gaze, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like that one is like a spring break. We just go through all of them, and then afterwards that TV show that goes through the making of them. Did you see that TV show?
Yes,
What was it?
I did.
I forget what it's called.
About the writer. It's got an unusual name. That was rocking. I love that. And also Sofia Coppola. I think she's just what a knockout, and not a chip off the old block. She's her own thing. I love her films.
She's such a unique voice.
Yeah, she's inspiring.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Yeah.
Lovely to talk to you. Lovely to know you, Jessica.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe. New episodes release every Wednesday. And leave a comment and let me know which movie you think I should show my son. Until next time, take care.